Have you ever felt calm in your mind? You know you're safe, but your body won't stop buzzing with anxiety. Your chest is tight, your stomach's in knots, and your heart is racing, even though mentally you know you're fine. Anxiety isn't a one-size-fits-all model, despite what many people would like to believe at this point. The truth is, there isn't just one kind of anxiety. There are at least two different experiences that people lump together. The first one is what most people think: mental cognitive anxiety, the spiraling thoughts, the overthinking, what if, that just doesn't seem to shut off. The second type is something else entirely: somatic anxiety. That's when your mind is relatively calm most of the time, but your body is just firing off like you're running from a lion. You have tension, restlessness, maybe even digestive issues, even though mentally you know you're safe. Here's the problem. Each type responds to different approaches in general. If you treat them the same way every time, you probably won't make the headway that you should. So in this video, I'm going to break down both types, how to know which one you're dealing with, the natural strategies that actually help, and why combining a few key tools can completely change how you handle anxiety moving forward. So let's start with mental anxiety, the one that most people recognize. And you're going to want to stay to the next part because it's very, very important. But this is when your thoughts just don't seem to let up. Racing mind, worst case scenarios on repeat. No amount of telling yourself just to calm down is really working. Here's what most people miss. You can't solve this by thinking harder. What actually works is learning how to step back and question the thoughts instead of wrestling them. One way to do this is what psychologists call metacognitive therapy. We like to use really big words. It makes textbooks harder to read, but really it's just about noticing the beliefs you hold about your thoughts. Let me give you an example. You might believe, if I stop worrying, something bad will happen. Now, you may not actually think that exact thought. That would be pretty simple to recognize, but it might be much more subtle than that. If you step back and analyze a lot of the scenarios that you're anxious, you might think, my hypervigilance keeps me safe. Or another thought, I need to control every thought or else I'll lose it. Those beliefs keep this anxiety spiral alive. When you start catching those and asking, is this thought true? Is it useful? Do I actually need to listen to it right? You're just cutting it off at the head. Instead of being pulled into the anxiety spiral, you see the thought for what it actually is. It's a mental event, not a command. Another approach that you can do with yourself is mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. And I want to make a disclaimer. These are not replacements for actual professional therapy. Those can be incredibly beneficial. I'm going to get into some of that later. But I think that if you only spend time working on this in the 60 minutes that you're paying to talk to a therapist, you're really shortchanging yourself. I'm trying to give you the tools that work synergistically with this work. So back to mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. So the idea of this is simple but very powerful and a little bit similar to what I just talked about. You train yourself to observe thoughts without immediately reacting to them. That pause, that kind of bird's eye viewership of this, the ability to let a thought float kind of like a cloud, you're just watching it go by instead of jumping on it. Over time, this can weaken the anxiety. Now, I try to be very respectful of your time, and I like to simplify health here. These don't necessarily have to be two separate things that I just talked about. Really, what this comes down to is analyzing and understanding your thoughts. Practice these. You can blend them together in a way that's personal to you, that seems to work best, and really implement it every day. Now, those are amazing tools, but I have a very unique one for you. There's a technique called journal speak. It was developed by therapist Nicole Sachs. It's not just like the neat Instagram journaling that you're thinking of. This is more, as she describes it, as rage on a page. This is raw. This is messy. This is 10 to 15 minutes of writing your uncensored thoughts and emotions with zero concern for grammar, spelling. I don't care if you write it in a notebook. I don't care if you write it on your computer. It doesn't make a difference. You don't even reread it. You don't analyze it. You never look at it again. You delete it. You can burn it. You can throw it in the trash. You release it. That's the concept. When I've seen people stick with this consistently, it makes all the difference in the world. It is free. The instructions are on her website. I will link it in the description. You definitely should look into this. I've even done this myself. And this is a quick exercise in general. But when I tell you that if it required me to wake up at 4 a.m. to do this, I would do it. It doesn't, but I'm just saying it is almost a non-negotiable for me. Now, one more thing that most people overlook: sleep. I know, seems really simple, but that's the point. I cannot tell you how many people are disregarding their sleep and how much that affects their anxiety day to day. If you are under-rested, your brain has less capacity to regulate emotions. Simple as that. Your mental anxiety ramps up. This is where simple supplements like magnesium glycinate at night can make a huge difference. You don't have to do this, but if you're not sleeping well in the first place, it's a great option. It improves sleep quality and lowers that baseline tension that fuels these anxiety spirals. So mental anxiety fixes aren't just to calm down. It's to change your relationship with your thoughts, unload what's stuck, and make sure your brain has the rest it needs to stay stable. Now, let's talk about somatic anxiety. This one does not get near enough attention. This is when your mind feels relatively calm, but your body is firing off like there's danger. You might notice tightness in your chest, knots in your stomach, muscle tension, restlessness, or even digestive issues, even though that you know that you're safe. Here's what most people miss about this. Somatic anxiety isn't just about thought spirals like the previous anxiety was. It's about the body storing stress and not letting go. If you only try to fix it with mental strategies, you'll always feel like something's missing. This is why I say that the same therapy for both of these doesn't always work. This is also why it's so important to try to figure out and resonate with which one of these is the biggest problem for you. One of the most effective approaches I've seen here is EMDR therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It was originally developed for trauma, and it's a really interesting history, so I recommend you look into it. But it works because it helps the nervous system process stuck memories and stress patterns. Of course, you want to process them instead of endlessly carrying that physical tension. Your body gets to finally release all of this. This is powerful work and can be a little bit intense at times, but definitely worth looking into for many people. Another powerful and really important option is body work, and that can take many forms. This can be acupuncture, massage, craniosacral therapy. They all target the body's nervous system directly. These aren't just about like relaxing in the moment. That does help, but they help to reset how your body holds on to stress day to day. There's also somatic practices that you can do on your own. One that I actually really like, and there's some good data behind it, is shaking. I know, for many of you, that came way out of left field, but I encourage you to look into something called trauma releasing exercises, or TRE. This was originally developed for veterans with PTSD and has shown remarkable results. It's also incredibly simple to do, and you can do it by yourself, which is why I'm mentioning it here. Essentially, you're literally letting your body tremor or move out stored tension. This is actually something that animals naturally do after stress. A lot of the origination of how this came about was from noticing that process. And I really don't want you to underestimate breath work. Not always slow meditative breathing, but you can do more active approaches like box breathing or resonance breathing. There's also a technique where you take one very large inhale and you feel like at your capacity, and you take one more, really at that capacity, and you exhale it out. This has been shown to work on the vagus nerve and really bring you down from that anxiety. You may feel silly doing it, but who cares? You feel better. Now, supplements can play a role here too. While magnesium supports both forms of anxiety well, rhodiola is one that I find particularly useful in somatic anxiety. It's an adaptogen, which means that it helps the body balance its stress response without numbing you out like some other things do. Some people do well with ashwagandha, though I tend to use it less because it can be a little numbing for people. That being said, it works well. So the big shift here is recognizing that somatic anxiety lives in the body. And that means that the fixes need to include the body too, whether that's therapy like EMDR, physical practice like breath work and shaking, or strategic supplements that support the nervous system. Now here's the important thing. Mental and somatic anxiety are different, but they're not always totally separate worlds. A lot of people actually deal with both at different times. The goal here is to simplify health, and I do that by breaking these down in an understandable way. But oftentimes what people do in medicine is they have two things in two different buckets, and they think that those buckets are always separate. This just simply isn't always the case for people. Your body did not read the textbook, and everyone processes things in their own unique way. But the truth is, there are strategies that help both. Many of these I've already talked about, but I want to make sure that you know which ones can be effective for both. For example, movement. Even a simple daily walk can do amazing things. It can clear off all that mental noise, and it can also burn off the physical stress that kind of fuels your body's anxiety. That's why people always feel better after exercise. It hits both sides at once. Another one is breath work, just like I mentioned. Box breathing, resonance breathing, even just slowing down your exhales. These can calm the nervous system while also interrupting racing thoughts. It's one of the simplest but most overlooked methods we have. And there's journaling. Just because I mentioned journal speak from being this unstructured, borderline chaotic kind of rage on a page writing, it doesn't mean that also structured reflection can't be beneficial. Writing down your thoughts can give your mind mental clarity, and that can help ease anxiety. So while it's crucial to know whether your anxiety is mostly mental or somatic, remember that some of these practices serve as universal anchors. They bring the mind and the body back into alignment at the same time. Now, let's talk supplements before we close, because I know that a lot of you want quick, natural relief. Here are the core ones that I recommend most often. Magnesium. You're probably tired of hearing that here, but I want to introduce a new form. Magnesium threonate can be particularly helpful. You would take this during the day versus taking magnesium glycinate at night to sleep. I find that magnesium threonate can really be beneficial in the morning. Magnesium threonate crosses the blood-brain barrier and it supports cognition, focus, and calm. And a reminder that magnesium glycinate helps with sleep quality, which can lower both mental and somatic anxiety the next day. Rhodiola, an adaptogen that balances your stress response without numbing you. It's great for people who need energy, focus, and resilience, but also want that calm baseline. The ashwagandha, another adaptogen, much more famous, you've probably heard of it. It's better for people who feel overstimulated and really need downshift. It can be calming, though sometimes a little too sedating, and some people report feeling very numb from it. That's why I use it selectively. There's also magnolia bark extract. This isn't my first choice because results are mixed, but some people swear by it. Figured it's worth mentioning as an option if other things haven't worked for you. All of these can be supportive, but they work best when layered on top of other strategies that we've talked about. Supplements aren't a replacement for addressing the root cause, but they can make the process much easier. So here's the big takeaway. Anxiety isn't one size fits all. If your thoughts are the problem, racing, looping, worst case scenarios, you need tools that help you question and release them. If your body is the problem, tight chest, restlessness, that wired but tired feeling, you need tools that calm and reset the nervous system. And if you're like most people, you'll benefit from knowing how to use both approaches. Now, for those of you who want a blueprint that ties it all together, I laid it all out step by step in my book, From Dull to Doctor, how I rewired my brain to thrive and how you can too. This is a full system of how I used to move from constant anxiety and fatigue to focus, clarity, and performance. It is deeply science-backed, it is dang effective, and it is super simple to understand. Most of all, and people tell me this is what they like the most about this book and what makes it so different from others, this is what the data says. This is written from the standpoint of someone who has been there, lived it, beat it, and wrote it all down for you. I do believe this can really help you. I've poured my heart and soul into this book. I'll drop a link in the top of the description. And if you're considering supplements, please don't just go grab whatever's cheapest on Amazon. Quality matters. In fact, lack of quality can be dangerous. Because of this, I set up an online dispensary on Fullscript. The products are third-party tested, and they are sourced from companies that I trust. You'll find the same magnesium, rhodiola, ashwagandha, and all the other tools that I mentioned in this video, all in one place. I will also link that in the description for you. Because at the end of the day, your health deserves more than guesswork. You don't need a complicated system, but you do need the right tools, applied the right way. I hope this gave you clarity. And if it did, let me know in the comments which type of anxiety you deal with the most, mental or somatic. And if you found this valuable, don't forget to like and subscribe. It means the world, and I have more awesome videos like this coming out every single week. And if you really found this beneficial, share it with someone that you care about. It's totally free for you, and it's the least that you can do to help them. And as always, I'm Dr. Matt Jones. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.